Kira putih apa mah? Isi? Ini kena ya nih. Participant 25.
Good morning, everyone. Or I guess it's still morning there too. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jake.
Good morning.
Komat ini.
Hi, Jake. Jake, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear you. Hey, Nanda.
Yes, I'm
Good
Dr.
morning.
Nanda, national consultant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice
So,
to see you.
Okay, thank you. So we will wait 5 minutes like that. It's still participants are joining.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, Pekka also. Good morning, Pekka.
Good morning, Nanda. Good morning, Jake.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Fine. Ready for this new workshop.
Still, our participants are joining, so we will wait 5 minutes like that.
Do you know how many we should be today?
I'm not have clear idea, but maybe last time.
Mm-hmm. So someone will tell us when we will start, and then we will only waiting.
I will tell you because today's department, our department director is attended another workshop. It is in not in it is another far away.
Okay.
Out of office. So I will start.
Okay, then we just wait and you'll tell when we start.
5 minutes like this to join.
Okay.
කාන්ත දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ මේ කවුරු හරි නිලධාරි මහත්මයෙක් ඉන්නවද මේ වර්ක්ෂොප් එකේ? Pekka, it is very heavy raining in Sri Lanka.
Okay. Is it
Yes,
flooding?
During last week, still is same. So our participants sometimes may be problem to join in because there may signal problem for them. I think some areas are flood.
Okay, it's good to know. Do we have someone to translate if there are problems in understanding?
Miss Dayananda?
Yes, yes, madam. I'm here.
Yes. She is the translator.
Okay.
He will
Thank
do.
you.
Yeah. She is a teacher or vice principal.
I'm assistant principal, madam.
Assistant principal, President College. It's very clear, near to NIE.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes we need to check that everybody understands, then we need to translation. So it's good to know that somebody can do that.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, participants ලගෙන් අහන්න මේ තේරුම් මේ කියන්නේ පැහැදිලි කරන්න ඕනද කියලා. අහලා මේ පැහැදිලි කරන්න ඕන නම් පැහැදිලි කරමු. නැත්නම් කාලය අපරාධ නාස්ති වෙනවනේ මේගොල්ලන්ගේ.
Oh, madam.
ඔව් එහෙම කරමු. participants ලගෙන් අහමු. So we will wait until 80 now. මොකද මේ පස්සේ පටන් ගත්තාම ආවහම කරදරයි. එයාලා කියනවා අපිට මුල බෑ. Okay, Pekka, we will start. Okay. I welcome our consultant Pekka and Jake for this workshop. As well as our all participants are welcome to this training program. Today you have training regarding the blended learning, how to get the support. You can get experience, how to get experience and apply to your classroom. So before starting, I have one message for all of our participants. All you have to write your name and the school name and also zonal name in your chat box. Everyone, I can see you logged in different name, but we want to recognize to you, and your participation is very important for, because the end of this program we expect to give certificate for your participation. So please write down your name, and school name, and also the zonal name in a chat box. So some may be log few people in one computer. So write down the school name and all other names, participants' name in the chat box. So මම ඔයගොල්ලන් හැමදෙනාම මේ වැඩමුළුවට සහභාගී වෙන ඉතාම ආදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. ඒ වගේම ඔබ සියලු දෙනාගෙන්ම ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ තමන්ගේ නම, තමන්ගේ පාසලේ නම, ඒ වගේම කලාප කාර්යාලය chat box එකට ඇතුල් කරන්න කියලා. මොකද ඔබ වෙනුවෙන් අවසානයේ මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් අවසාන වෙනකොට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ ඉගැන්වීම් කටයුතු සඳහා ඔබ සුදුසුෙක් හැටියට නව අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමවේදී යටතේ ඔබ පුහුණුව ලැබුවා කියලා සාතිකයක් ලබා දෙන නිසා කරුණාකරලා ඒක කරන්න. ඒ වගේම වැඩමුළුව අතරතුර ඔබට යම්කිසි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ හැම වෙලාවෙම ඔබේ අත ඔසවලා නැත්නම් chat box එකට ඔබේ ප්‍රශ්න දාන්න. ඒ සඳහා අපේ විශේෂඥ උපදේශකවරුන් හැමතිස්සෙම අපේක්ෂා කරනවා ඔබේ ක්‍රියාකාරී සහභාගීත්වය. ඒ වගේම මේ සිංහලට පරිවර්තනය කිරීම සඳහා අපට සහයෝගය දෙනවා මාර්ගම ජනාධිපති විද්‍යාලයේ ජනානන්ද මහත්මිය. ඔබට අවශ්‍ය සිංහල පරිවර්තන අවශ්‍ය තැන්වලදී ඒ උදව් ලබා ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරන්න. නිසා මම හැමදෙනාගෙම ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා ඊටාම ක්‍රියාකාරීව මේ වැඩමුළුවට සහභාගී වෙන්න කියලා. ඔබ සැමට ස්තුතියි. Now Pekka, Jake, you can start the workshop.
Okay, maybe I'll start. Good morning to everyone. My name is Pekka, and I'm here also in this workshop helping you to understand the classroom practices. What can you do to change your classroom practices from the teacher-centered learning to the student-centered learning? And now in the beginning, I'm just saying that we are using the Google Classroom. So you need a computer or at least your smartphone to log into the Google Classroom. And I show you it looks like this in your screen. I guess you can see now it says Mathematics TOT here, and this is the Google Classroom which we are using today. And here is the link which you can use to log into this Google Classroom, because all the materials we are sharing today, we are giving them you through this Google Classroom. So just join to this one. If you haven't done yet, join to this classroom. It says there's L2SMZ2E, and I just copied it in the chat box. It's I think the third one in the beginning, but I can do it again. But most important thing is that you just first log in here so that you can follow. So in the beginning we wait until everyone has managed to get here, because it's no point to go forward before you can see all the materials we are sharing with you. So can someone now translate this one or tell everyone so that we know that all of you understand what is supposed to be there?
Yes, Pekka. අපි සියලුම ගුරු භාගතුන් මේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ පෙන්නලා තියෙන Google Classroom එකට අපි එකතු වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ හරහා තමයි අද දවසේ පාවිච්චි වෙන materials ටික ඔක්කොම අපිට ලැබෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ පේන Google Classroom එකට join වෙමු. chat box එකේ පළවෙනි හෝ දෙවෙනි පණිවිඩය තියෙන්නේ මේ link එක දීලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක හොයාගෙන අපි එකට join වෙමු. Okay, Pekka.
Sorry Pekka, මේ අපේ participants ලා මේ සියලු දෙනාම මම හිතනවා දැන් කලිනුත් workshop එකට හිටියේ හින්දා මේ Google Classroom එකකට join වෙන්න දන්නවා ඇති කියලා. එහෙම දන්නවා ඒ නිසා අර 38 Google තිත්තට ගාවට ක්ලික් කරලා Google Classroom කියන icon එක අරගෙන plus mark එක තියෙනවා එතනින් තියෙනවා join class කියලා. එහෙම කරන්න. එහෙම නැත්නම් කෙලින්ම link එකට පෙක්ක link එක දාලා තියෙනවා නම් chat box එකේ ඒකට ක්ලික් කරපු ගමන් class එකට සම්බන්ධ වෙයි. I will check the box.
So maybe if you were in the previous workshop, there has been a different Google Classroom. So that's why, because we can share with Jake only with this one.
Pekka, can you put the link? Chat
Yes,
box?
I'll do it again. I already did. I'll do it again. So it will be here. So if you just click it, it's now in the chat box again. You have to scroll, but if you see my face there in next to this one, this is now there. Okay, so if someone has any question about the Google Classroom, how to start, please raise up your hand or just type to the chat box so that we know that we can continue now. But maybe then I can let Jake continue from here, just to start to use the Google Classroom. You can share.
Is there a question? Someone has raised their hand.
Okay. Nirojan, can you open your microphone and you have a question? This Nirojan. Yes, please speak.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sorry, sir. First time I participate this program.
Okay. So can you join to the Google Classroom? Do you know how to do that?
No, sir.
So you need to open your browser and then type Google Classroom there. I just share my screen quickly here. And then if you have a Google Classroom, you will get this type of place where you can choose the program. If you scroll downwards, you scroll down in further, you will see here a classroom. You click here the classroom and it will open you a page. I'll show it like this one. And if you haven't ever been in any classroom, this is empty. Only here in the upper right corner, you have this plus sign. If you click this plus sign, it will give you two options, join class or create class. And then you click here, join class. And if you click the join class, then in this place, you add the code, which I just shown in the screen. So here you add the code. Now I'll go back. I'll show you again. This is our classroom today, and this is the code. The other way how you can do is that you just go to the chat box and you click the link there. And then using that link, you should come to this same place. So hopefully this one. Yes.
And once you're all in the classroom now, you can see on Pekka's screen, oh, not anymore. There's a question for you all posted at the top of the chat.
You can share the screen now, Jake, so that you can follow from that.
So there's a question posted at the top of the chat, a sort of quiz question. Our hope is to help understand where we are today in where you are before we get started, your background knowledge and your sort of preparation for the course. So if you could just briefly share whether you managed to do the assignment, and if not, what challenges you faced in doing it. So if you could just post in the chat or in this question, you should be able to respond here. And then me and Pekka, for instance, can see your responses. So So just take a couple minutes to do that, please.
So can you again translate this one to everyone? So we want them to open the first task and then write a response to the question, at least yes or no, and then a few sentences why they couldn't do the task.
If not, if they could.
right. අපි දැන් screen එකෙන් chat box එකේ තියෙන link එකෙන් Google Classroom එකට join වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි අලුත්ෙන් නම් join වෙන්නේ අපිට පෙන්නවා අර screen එකේ plus sign එකෙන් Google Classroom එක අරගෙන ඒක ඇතුලේ join වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට join වෙලා දැනටත් ඉන්න students 67ක පෙන්නවා. අපි ඒගොල්ල බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා අපෙන් කලින් assignment එකකට ඒකට try කරන්න පුළුවන් වුණාද බැරි වුණාද කියන yes or no උත්තරයක් හරි දෙන්න කියලා. එතන තියෙන Google Classroom chat එකකින් එතනදී no නම් ඇයි ඒක කරගන්න බැරි වුණේ කියලා පොඩි වාක්‍යයක් සටහන් කරන්න කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා. Okay.
Yes, just to make sure that everybody understands, it's in two places, either in the stream, it's here the first one, or you can go to the classwork, and here in the classwork you just click the first one. Did you manage to do the assignment? Just click that one, answer to it shortly, then we can go forward. We can.
Yes, screen එකේ පෙන්නන class work කියන තැන click කරාම මේ පෙන්නන screen එකකින් එනවා. එතකොට Tamanට එතන උත්තරයක් type කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඊට එහා පැත්තෙන් දක්වන stream කියන වචනය click කරත් මේකට උත්තරයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay.
Okay. So as you see, only 6 people have not just handed, and we are waiting 70 people to do that. Oh, somebody wants Tamil translation. Can someone do it also in Tamil for this beginning part?
අපේ Tamil teacher කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් මේක තේරුම් ගත්ත කෙනෙක් please translate it into Tamil. Okay. Yes, Mr. Arurang, you can translate it into Tamil.
So just open your microphone and please talk so that all the Tamil people can understand.
So there seems to be some many of you who still haven't been able to access the Google Classroom. This Zoom mini is your question regarding the classroom or the Zoom, the waiting room? Pekka, do you know?
At least this is the Google Classroom problem. So we're waiting the people to to get into the Google Classroom and type something. So you don't need to type many sentences here to this first question. Just either type yes or no, and then one sentence so that we know that you can follow us. So if you can't use the Google Classroom, it's difficult for us to continue. So please make sure, because now only 17 people are now following us, and all the 60 people here, they have trouble. So if you have problems, please write in the chat box or open your microphone. We need to do in the beginning this many times so that everybody really can join to the Google Classroom. This is what I'm showing here. So you should be in this classroom, which is now on the screen. So make sure that you join here, and if you can't, please type to the chat box or open your microphone so that we can help you. Yes, we want you to answer to the Google Classroom, not to the chat box, because the chat box is that means that you can't follow. You need to get into the Google Classroom.
So
yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
please translate. Yeah.
Yes. අපේ සියලුම ගුරු මහත්ම මහත්මීන් දැන් දැනටත් chat box එකෙත් ආපහු share වෙනවා Google Classroom link එක. ඒකෙන් Google Classroom එකට අපි join වෙමු ඉක්මනටම. 60 දෙනෙක් විතර මේකට උත්තරයක් දෙනකම් අපේ පෙකාන් ජෙක් බලාගෙන ඉන්නේ. So ඉක්මනටම අපි chat box එකේ yes or Google Classroom එකේ chat box එකට ගිහිල්ලා yes or no කියන එක type කරලා reply කරන්න. If it's a no එකක් නම් අපි ඒකට බැරි වුණේයි කියලා කෙටි වාක්‍යයකින් උත්තරයක් දාන්න. මොකද අපි මේකට සම්බන්ධ වෙනවා කියලා පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ classroom එකේ. එතකන් අනේ වැඩසටහන පටන් ගන්න අමාරුයි.
Did we get the Tamil translation also?
Mr. Aruran, you can translate it into Tamil, please, if possible. Please switch on your mic and translate.
I'm Inaya and I'll translate in Tamil.
Okay, yes, please
Thank
talk.
தமிழ் மொழி மூலம் தெரிய வேண்டியவர்களுக்காக வேண்டி ஜூம்ல செட் பாக்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற லிங்கை டச் பண்ணி நீங்க கூகுள் கிளாஸ் ரூமுக்கு போகலாம். போய் அதுல கமெண்ட்ஸ் இருக்கு, அதுல எஸ் நோன்ற ஒரு மெசேஜை போடுங்க. அது கூகுள் கிளாஸ் ரூம்ல சாட்ல நீங்க கட்டாயமாக எஸ்ஸோ நோன்ற மெசேஜை போடுங்க. எஸ்ன்ற பிரச்சனை இல்லை, நோன்னு சொன்னா சின்ன ஒரு கமெண்ட் என்ன காரணத்துக்காக வேண்டி உங்களால ஜாயின் ஆக முடியலன்றதை தெரிந்து கொள்வதற்காக வேண்டி சின்ன ஒரு கமெண்ட்டையும் போடுங்க. ஏதாவது வேற விஷயங்கள் இருந்தா சொல்லுங்க, நான் சொல்றேன். நன்றி.
Okay, I think then we continue. I stop sharing and let Jake continue to share, and we go to the first task. I think you can share the materials and then the assignment. And
Okay. Yeah. So while we're we're still seeing some people replying in the Zoom chat, but what you need to be able to do is get into the Google Classroom, and so that's I can see that actually many of you have managed to do the task, and we can see that that's the case, but it's still important for you to access the Google Classroom, because that's where we're going to share the material for the class for this session today. So if you're still struggling to find to get into the Google Classroom, for instance, we can see that there's about 105 who have managed, but that includes about 30 from our previous session. So if there's at least 126 in the Zoom, and presumably, or what I've noticed is that some of you are sharing screens, so there's quite many more of you. Hopefully you're still, you can make an effort to try and get into the Google Classroom. I'll post the link one more time in the chat. From there, you should be able to access the classroom. Yeah, the numbers are slowly, steadily coming up. And one of the first things you should see in the Google Classroom is this question. And what we'd ask from you is to try and provide your answer so that we can see them. Google seems to be a little slow, but yeah. So we can see, for instance, all of these answers. And part of this is to show you, for example, one way to use Google Classroom. It can work in a blended setting if students are distance, but also in classroom. This is a way for you to get information from your students in a very simple format that you can access and you can see, but it doesn't involve necessarily them having to say things aloud. And presumably, when you're in the classroom, you're not sharing your screen and pointing out, but you can use this for, did you have any questions? You can use this for, how are you feeling today? Kind of just ways to get students. You can also ask them content questions and have students respond here for your access. Yeah, so it seems like we maybe should move along. As you can see that there is some older material in the class in the classroom from a previous workshop that we gave with Pekka. You're free to access that later on, but for now we're
it's easier to see from the classwork. If you click the classwork there, that's
so
the list.
So there's more material that you can, and we'll talk a little bit about what's there as well as we go forward. Yeah, but let's check the numbers. Team, that's looking pretty nice. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So maybe we should move along and talk a little bit about what we're planning to do today. So as Nanda mentioned, we are trying to spend today to think a little bit more about blended learning. And as Pekka mentioned, what we're particularly interested in is providing you with some examples and sort of a little nugget of an idea about student-centered pedagogy and kind of what our approach is in thinking about how to develop mathematics instruction that's going to support students actively engaging with mathematics and that sort of promotes their own understanding from a student-centered perspective. So what we'll have today is a short agenda. We're going to have a bit of an overview of this is my own notes, but I'm still showing them to you. So we've been getting into Google Classroom and answering the question. We're going to spend about 30-45 minutes providing an overview of the kind of principles of what we're talking about today. And then we're going to have an actual task that you're going to carry out together in small groups and discuss then kind of how that task can be used in the classroom. Yeah, and so and then we'll see at the end if we can have more of a quiz, but I'm not sure we'll have time for that. But that's the main agenda for today. And yeah, but we're moving along quite nicely. We can see that many of you have still managed to answer. About 35 have answered in Google Classroom. 15 of you have answered with comments, which is also great. And it seems like many of you, at least who have answered, have managed to do the task. So, and I see that that's also the case in the chat. So very nice. Yeah. While we're doing this overview, perhaps if you have any questions about getting into the Google Classroom or are still struggling with that, maybe you can write that in the chat, your questions, and someone can maybe try and help you with that. Yeah, but we're going to start today. Sorry. We're going to start today, with this training about student-centered teaching in mathematics classrooms. I didn't introduce myself. I think my name is Jake McMullen. I'm Associate Professor of Mathematics Education at the University of Turku in Finland. I'm originally from Florida in the United States. I've lived in Finland for 15 years. I'm a former math teacher in Florida. So I say math and not maths. Now I've been working in Finland for 15 years and doing research I'm happy to be here today and to think about these things with you. I hope that you feel comfortable asking questions. You can raise your hand, but there's many of us, so maybe it's better if you raise your hand in using the raise hand function in Zoom, or then write your question in the chat. But I hope, if you have questions that you're willing to ask them and stop me at any time so that we can discuss them, because these are important things and just me saying them isn't necessarily going to make sure that all of the main points are covered. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is this idea of what is active learning. So there was a good quote recently from Tan de Jong from the Netherlands, who works with inquiry learning and science especially, but had the kind of quote about what we mean when we say students are engaged. And the idea is that when students are engaged, they're going beyond what is given, right? And so in that sense, this can mean being sort of physically active in a laboratory environment, or using a digital tool like a educational game. And that can be, and I think that's often what we think of when we think of active learning and active learners. But active learning can also mean being mentally active. So, for instance, activating one's own prior knowledge about a topic. And trying to make connections, and actively trying to make connections between what I'm learning about at this moment and what I know or my experiences previously. So, a way I think about that is the idea that when you're in a lecture, when you're in a talk, when you're talking with colleagues and thinking about a problem together, you're not just sort of thinking about that problem, but you're also maybe trying to make a connection between your own experiences and trying to understand that problem or understand that content from your own experiences. And this would be considered active learning, because you're trying to make connections between what you're learning about and what you already know in some way and form, your prior knowledge of the contents or your own experiences. And so this inclination to make these connections is something that some students do, but many students don't. And one problem with a teacher-centered approach to teaching mathematics is that we often give students the message that they don't have to be active learners, that we are going to tell them how to do the math, they're going to practice the math, and then they'll have learned the math, right? And this can be, a fine way of teaching some aspects of mathematics, but it's not a way of creating what we would want in terms of mathematical thinkers who can use their knowledge in a 21st century environment who are going to be lifelong mathematical learners, who are going to be able to use their mathematical knowledge to solve everyday problems, to solve problems in their working life, to be able to use their knowledge to solve problems in other contexts outside of that mathematics classroom. Right? So that's what we want to do. We wanted to develop active learners in that sense. So what does this look like in mathematics? So the first thing we're going to do now is that you actually are going to be a little active. I have two questions that I want you to kind of discuss in small breakout rooms. You can think about which one you want to discuss sort of more clearly. The first one is, what is your perception of active learning in mathematics? So what do you think of when you hear the idea of active learning or active learners in mathematics teaching? Okay. And so a similar question that you can think about if that one doesn't work for you, because not every prompt is going to work clearly for you, is what do you think active learning looks like in a secondary mathematics classroom? So we're in the context of secondary mathematics right now. So we want to think about what this looks like in these two contexts. So I'm going to post those two questions in the chat, and then we're going to create some breakout rooms. Again, you don't have to discuss both questions. You can choose one or the other. You can discuss both if you want, but you can choose one or the other.
Ms. Jake, can I translate it now?
Can I say, yeah, I have one more instruction. Do you want to translate now and then I'll say that last instruction?
You carry on. At the end, I will translate before they break out into the breakout rooms.
Perfect. Thank you. So we're going to discuss in breakout rooms, but also what I want you to do is to share your group's thoughts in whichever language you prefer. Okay, so you can write these, you can write down your thoughts in whichever language you're most comfortable with, because we have Google Translate. We can manage, and it's better for you to express however you feel in whatever language. And what you're going to do is you're going to access this Padlet, which I'll also post this link in the chat. And you're going to, and so for each group, you sort of can respond in the Padlet about your group's thoughts on these matters. Okay. And then these will be anonymous, but everyone should be able to see them. So we can see what everyone is thinking. This QR code also gives you a link to the Padlet if you're on a phone. Although I guess it's always tricky to do, but yeah. So we're going into breakout rooms. We're going to discuss these questions for a few minutes. You're going to share your group's thoughts in whichever language you prefer in this Padlet, which is linked here.
Yes. Jake, are they supposed to present it after the discussion in the Zoom?
We can, when we come back together, if we have some questions, then we can discuss, and but we'll also look at the Padlet together when we come back together, so we'll discuss from there as well.
Right. සියලුම ගුරු මහත්මීන්ට මේ පොඩ්ඩක් මේක කරන්න කියපු කාර්යය පොඩ්ඩක් විස්තර කරන්න. දැන් breakout rooms වලට අපිව දැම්මහම එතනදී discuss කරන්න කියන questions දෙක තමයි මේ දැක්වෙන්නේ මේ screen එකේ. පළවෙනි එකෙන් කියන්නේ අපි active learning maths වල අපි active learning කියන concept එකේ මොකක්ද අපිට දැනෙන දේ අපි හිතන දේ ගැන. ඊළඟට දෙවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි secondary mathematics classroom එකකදී active learning කියන එක කොයි වගේ ආකාරයක් ගනීවිද කියලා අපේ අදහස තමයි අහන්නේ. එතනදී අන්තිමට මේ දැක්වෙන link එකක් තියෙනවා Padlet link එකක්. ඒකට click කරාම එතන අපිට අපේ අදහස් type කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ දැක්වෙන QR code එක phone එකකින් අරගෙන ඒ Padlet එකට join වෙලා එතන ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ අදහස් දක්වන්න පුළුවන්. කණ්ඩායමක් විදිහට සාකච්ඡා කරලා Padlet එකේ සටහන් කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. අවසානයේ Padlet එක comment discussion එකකට ගන්නවා කියන අදහස තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හොඳයි. මුකුත් ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවද කාට හරි? හරි. හොඳයි. Okay, Jake. They are fine.
Great.
I've just created 20 rooms, so everyone can choose one of the room. Is that okay?
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah, about 5. Is it possible to create a few more? that there would still be a bit smaller groups, and maybe
even
just
even smaller ones. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe we just randomly assign as well. That's probably instead of people having to choose, because then it can be uneven. So if we just
what would be
maybe
the number?
Let's do 4 in a group. So what's that? That's 30.
Okay, and we make
And then hopefully at least a couple people are able to join. At most, at least. You can see
So yes, now there are 30 rooms. So now you can choose your own room. You can choose one where you know somebody. If you don't know, just click somewhere. But there should be approximately not more than 5 people in a room. If there's already 5, choose another room. So start clicking there and then join the other rooms. Just click the blue sign join and then go to one of those rooms. So everybody has to go to one room. So you can choose your own room now. So maybe here we need another translation if people are not aware about how to use these breakout rooms. You just click one of the rooms and then join there.
Okay, Pekka. මේ screen එකේ දැක්වෙනවා breakout rooms icon එක වම් අත පැත්තේ. එතනදී ඒකට breakout room එකකින් Tamanට කැමති breakout room එකක් select කරගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි එක කණ්ඩායමක 5 දෙනෙක්ට වඩා සිටිනවා නම් කරුණාකරලා වෙන කණ්ඩායමකට join වෙන්න කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා. හැකි ඉක්මනින් අපි breakout rooms වලට එකතු වෙමු. Screen එකේ වම් අත පැත්තේ තියෙනවා breakout rooms. එතනින් join වෙන්න.
So maybe next time we just put them in a group so the joining is not easy.
It's not easy, and then also it seems to be some, like big groups that develop, and then people are all alone in other groups.
Yeah,
I'll just start assigning people, and at this point, so everyone can just kind of join if they want.
Pekka, can you assign the participants to breakout room? Because
yes,
it is problem.
Jake is just doing it now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just putting them one by one. That was my mistake. Next time we'll put them straight away.
think it could have been, it would have been a good idea, like in theory, it's a good idea because then they could, for instance, choose people who they speak the same language with and all of that. So in that sense,
that was the idea, that they could
yeah.
choose someone they know,
Yeah.
but now we're just putting them randomly because we have no idea.
Yeah,
but
that's also, you know,
it's a bit problem because we don't know everyone, so we have to just kind of force them to the groups.
okay. That's what thinking classroom says at least you should do. So everyone has an expectation to participate. All right, well, at least I think there's very few people who are alone in a room, and most have. Sorry, Nanda, did I accidentally add you? I also. Okay. Yeah, there's a few who still haven't been able to join, but that's okay.
But this is again learning. We are learning how to arrange the groups and the people, how to join to the groups, and then also see that they're not using their microphones. They're muted there, so it's not kind of working yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Let's see what's, yeah, that's, I didn't notice that. Someone's talking there. I can broadcast, for instance. Questions. No. No.
Did you broadcast something to them, because they can't see the chat box, which is now here in the main room?
No,
So
I just broadcasted now.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that actually some of them also are, yeah, maybe not even connected with the audio.
What about this Padlet? Can they click it? Can you also broadcast the Padlet so that they can get in? because maybe we need to discuss about also how to use the Padlet. I'm not sure if this is the first time, it might be difficult for them.
I realized.
It's a good exercise now, the learning.
Yeah, they can, many of them, there seems to be some action on the Padlet.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, a little, not a lot, but some.
At least someone.
Yeah, and I then posted a comment as to where they can, because there's, yeah, you can see how to add the add a post. If you're back in the main room and you want to join a breakout room, you can just open up the breakout rooms in the bottom. On the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a place where you can choose breakout room, and there you should be able to choose which breakout room you want to join. You can join one of the rooms and listen in or discuss there. Should we
sorry ජේත් තවම 37 දෙනෙක් අපේ මේන් රූම් එකේ ඉන්නේ ඇයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ බ්‍රේක් අවුට් රූම් එකට ගියේ නැත්තේ කතා කරනවද
Madam, I was there in the breakout room number 3, but there was no any activity because so that
activity,
time.
So activity එක assignment එකේ දුන්නේ අර ප්‍රශ්න දෙකක් තිබුණේ දාලා එකක් තමයි perception එක ලියන්න කියලා මේ ක්‍රියාකාරී ඉගැන්වීම සඳහා ගණිතයට යොදා ගැනීම පිළිබඳව perception එක. ඒක activity එක මුලින්ම දුන්නා. Jake.
Yeah. Okay.
They want to know the activity. Someone forget to the activity. Can you put the chat box so how can they see? Activity එක chat box එකට දාවි. හොඳ දෙකෙන් open කරලා බලන්න. මේ 38 දෙනා කතා කරන්නකෝ. ඇයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ යන්නේ නැත්තේ breakout room එකට? තව කතා කරන්න බලන්න. සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න බැරි අය ඉන්නවද?
මැඩම් මේ මම මේ ජොයින් වුණා අප මේ වෙනම ෆෝන් එකකින් තමයි ජොයින් වුනේ මොකද මේ දැන් මේ වෙන දේ ගැන ලොකු අවබෝධයක් නැති නිසා දැන් හරිය දැන් පැහැදිලි මේ අපි සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නේ ක්ලාස්රූම් 6 එකට. ඒකේ පාටිසිපන්ට්ලා 3 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා.
හරි ඒ 3 දෙනාත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන කතා කරලා chat box එකේම ඇති link එකක් අර මේ උත්තර ලියන්න ඕනේ එතන දාලා තිබුණේ. ඒ link එකත් ඒකේ දාලා තියෙනවා. ඒක open කරාම ඔයාලට ඒකට උත්තර ලියන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද?
හරි මැඩම්. හරි. thank you.
බලන්න කවුද ඉන්නේ කියලා මට මේ බලා ගන්න. මොකද
What do you think, Becca? Should we try and give them a couple more minutes, or should we?
Sachikumar, Mrs. Sachikumar, ඔයාගේ mic එක on කරනවද? ඇයි ඔයා breakout room යන්නේ නැත්තේ? Mrs. Sachikumar, ඔයාගේ mic එක mute වෙලා තියෙන්නේ mic එක on කරන්නකෝ.
I think we can just close all the rooms and come back to the main room and discuss about the breakout rooms first, because I think most of them not used to use them and they don't know what to do in the breakout room. So maybe just come back and we continue with all together and then we go forward and we try breakout rooms again.
Okay. But they have experience. They did last time they did. I don't know whether they.
But nothing
they-
is happening in the room, so now we don't know what's the problem. We need to find
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
Because you can see clearly that there's some groups, nobody's opening even the microphone. All the microphones are closed. Some groups are working, yes, but most of them, nothing is happening there.
Okay, Pekka.
Yes. So we'll continue here in the main room.
Sirama inni Tamil.
All right, everyone is back here in the main room, and this is an exercise and practice. As you can see, that some people had problems in breakout rooms. You didn't know what to do there, so maybe we have to practice that again. So it's just that we need to do this more so that you get used to work in the breakout rooms. The idea is that when you get into the breakout room, you open your microphone and you start to talk to the other people there. There is no teacher in the room. It's up to the participants, and so that every participant can take chance to talk to the others. You have a chance to speak with your colleagues. And then now we are back here in the main room, and maybe we're going to try it today again, but maybe we talk something about how to use the breakout rooms before we go there. But now about few words about Jake, maybe you can introduce what the Padlet actually should have been used for, and then maybe some ideas about this active, and then we go forward.
Yeah, so well, hopefully at least you had a chance to think about what you think active learning in mathematics classrooms would look like. So it's maybe not necessarily, it's okay if there wasn't the possibility for too much discussion, but hopefully in future breakout rooms you have an opportunity to share your own thoughts, because this is part of the sort of process of being active learners, is of course engaging with your own, sort of reflecting on your own knowledge and prior knowledge. Oops, sorry. So just to show you the Padlet before we move along, because I realized now there were a few. That's really nice. So we see that group 5 had some thoughts here, that active learning helps gain more positive outcomes, increases engagement, and improves critical thinking. All really excellent points. And yeah, that sort of group 22 now has added that they see sort of this idea about this activity-based approach, and that you get this conceptual learning as well as a strong support, and that yeah, activities, games, and inquiry-based learning are also applied to this approach as well. That's a really good point. So it seems that we're yeah, now we're seeing some activity in the Padlet, which is really nice. Just to give everyone a bit of a hint as to how to work with the Padlet, you oh yeah, this one that develops students' autonomy is a perfect point, that we want students to become autonomous learners, and that means that we provide them with opportunities to sort of engage with their own learning, and that they aren't sort of just passive receptive learners, but active learners, and that helps develop their own ownership of their learning process, which is of course one of these crucial 21st century skills. Yeah, but to note, if you want to add something in the Padlet, you just click down here the plus, and then you can add in the contents you're interested in adding in. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't know why it's black on my screen, but yeah, and then you click publish once you add something here. And you can add, this is actually a really nice tool for lots of different student activities. For instance, I know teachers that use it for them, for students to take photos with their smartphones of mathematical relations in everyday life. And you can then upload the photos and then comment about the relations, and then the other students can see them as well. So this is a pretty neat tool for lots of different sharing activities. Yeah, someone also noted here to keep students engaged with experiences and new methods and concepts. That's a really good point. And yeah, kind of here we have again problem solving, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and metacognitive processes. Very nice. And I like this point down here, to fulfill the day-to-day life. That's a really, really nice one. That kind of we're looking for students to be active mathematical thinkers in their everyday life, and that supporting that in the classroom is very important. And I also agree that it is good. Yeah, that's another note about the Padlet. Just if you're interested in using it in the future, you can kind of rearrange these in whatever order you're interested in doing that in. So it's, yeah. And you can, as you can see, you can make comments. So you can have students comment on other students' responses. These can be anonymous, or they can be sort of, you can have your name there. Yeah, so yeah, so that's the Padlet, and I was happy to see that there is some activity there. We might use that later on in an activity. Yeah. So yeah. So why do we want to engage students in active learning in mathematics classroom? Traditional instructional approaches to mathematics are effective in many ways. The traditional I do, we do, you do idea. I show you how to do a problem. We work on it together as a class, or we do it sort of in tandem at the same time, and then you do it independently. You practice it independently. This model is the main model for a lot of mathematics instruction around the world. This is a very typical model for how students are taught mathematics. And it's an efficient model for learning basic knowledge, right? But as you all described in the Padlet, what we know is that we don't want just students to become sort of able to do the mathematics exactly as they were taught it in only those instances. We want to develop flexible mathematical knowledge, flexible mathematical thinking. And that requires that they are kind of more active learners, right? And so this requires what we'd call conceptual change in instructional approaches. We know that it's challenging to change teaching practice. One of the biggest, one of the most well-known results in teaching, like research on teaching and learning is that most mathematics teachers teach mathematics in the way they were taught it. And it's really hard to get teachers to make changes in how they carry out teaching in the classroom. And so, but, that's why we're here. We're here to think about some ways that we can sort of create a more active learning for students. Right? And one approach that we're going to think of, the main approach we're going to think about today is something that we could call guided inquiry mathematics, that kind of aims to allow students the space to express their mathematical thinking and learn how to express their mathematical thinking, learn how to reason mathematically at all levels of mathematics, right? This isn't just something that we start to do when we get to the university and start doing proof-based mathematics, but actually is something that can be a part of the mathematics instruction at in preparation for O levels, in preparation for A levels. So a few principles that we're going to think about today. The first is that one of the main goals here is to build on students' prior knowledge, that in order to successfully, thank you, in order to, sorry, okay. In order to successfully develop students' inquiry, processes in mathematics, we need to be sure that we are still on a solid foundation, that they understand the basic needed mathematics, that they can engage in the inquiry process, right? So if this isn't something this is why this isn't a more guided approach. It's not something where they go off and try and discover mathematical truths on their own. That's not going to be effective for most students. What we need is the scaffolding of students in developing their own sort of mathematical thinking. So we want to ensure that they have sufficient background knowledge. We want to ensure that we want to know that they have the knowledge they need in order to succeed. One of the main ideas here is well, just like we tried to work in the breakout rooms, we know that interacting with peers is going to be an effective way to promote sort of student-centered approaches to learning. And this is because we want to give students the space to carry out their own thinking. And that means that they do need plenty of sort of support in that. And that's not something that one single teacher can give to all 40 students in the classroom. But with working in small groups, and if we build a culture of collaboration in small groups, then students can get support from their group members, and then groups can also get support from each other. We build a non-competitive environment in which it's not just about being the fastest and being the most right, but rather that we support each other in learning and figuring out the answer to these questions. And so it's not the case that as soon as they run into a problem, they turn to the teacher, but rather they turn to their group members and they turn to other groups. And then if the problem is still not resolved, we can maybe try and turn to the teacher, right? So first, they're attempting to solve the problems together or with other groups. And then we look to the teacher for support. And that's why these small group activities are really valuable, right? It's not only that we're developing the 21st century skills of communication, of collaboration, but they also support the mathematics because it's not all on the teacher to solve all of the problems in the classroom as soon as they appear. This is really crucial. And exactly in that notion, we also need to, we also want to start to think about the kind of questions that we answer from students. And Lily Adal talks about in his Building Thinking Classrooms, he talks about 3 types of questions. The first question is a proximity question, and that's basically that we the teacher's nearby, and so I ask a question because the teacher's nearby. But the 2 more important questions, the first one is what's called a stop thinking question. And that's sort of a question that the student asks of the teacher so that they don't have to think anymore, right? So they can ask, is this right? Or will this be on the test? So these kind of stop thinking questions, we want to stop answering, right? So stop answering, stop thinking questions. And instead of, if they ask, is this right? You ask them, why do you think it's right or wrong? Like to get the student to actually try and figure out if it's right or wrong and to use their own reasoning to determine that instead of just sort of checking off the box. Yes, it's right. No, it's wrong. Now you need to figure out why, right? So instead of answering these stop thinking questions, what we want to answer is keep thinking questions, right? And these are the questions that we answer that allow the students to get back to doing thinking, right? So that help them get back to work, right? So if they're stuck on something, we help them try and figure out how they can solve the problem, right? How they can solve the task that they are trying to figure out. And that isn't necessarily requiring them to kind of just determine if it's right or wrong, but rather to help them see how they can figure out if it's right or wrong, right? So we're trying to help the students learn how to evaluate their own thinking, how to evaluate their own mathematical problem solving in order to kind of be able to become independent mathematical thinkers. So that's the idea behind using small groups. Part of this as well, building around all of this idea of sort of building on prior knowledge and ensuring sufficient background knowledge, a lot of the times when we're engaged in these inquiry processes, we're going beyond what we know, right? And that students are engaging in something that is beyond their current knowledge. If that makes sense. That's how they're learning. But that means that we need to make sure that they're on the right track as they're following these paths. And again, this is why it's a guided process and not a completely open process. And part of this means that we're providing feedback throughout the process. So we're having these checkpoints where we look and make sure that the students are assessing their own knowledge about whether they have understood what's going on up until now. Because if they don't understand what's going on at the beginning of the inquiry process, then they're going to be completely lost as they go forward. So what we want to do is we want to provide intermediate feedback and help them evaluate, do they understand what they need to understand in order to go to the next step? And that's basically, do they understand what they've done in the previous step? Do they understand where they are right or where they are wrong in this first step? And if we know that they understand that, then they can move on to the next step. Okay, does that make some, hopefully that makes some sense, that we're providing intermediate feedback. And again, we're not just providing feedback of it's right or it's wrong, but we're providing the feedback of, do you understand and what do you need to understand in order to go forward? What do you as a student need to understand better in order to go forward? If there's nothing, then great, go on. If there's something that you're still unsure about in this first step or this second step, then we need to figure it out together before you can go on to the next step. And throughout all of this, one of the crucial things that we have to change our mindset about in thinking about mathematics is that with these tasks, we are really interested in not just them getting the right answer, but them following the right process and making sure that they are engaging in problem solving in a way that is appropriate for the domain of mathematics. They're explaining their answers in a way that's logical, mathematically sound, that encompasses all of this content in appropriate ways. So that's a bit of an overview of what we mean by the guided inquiry process in mathematics. I won't say much on this now, because now I think we've spent a lot of time here, but I will just briefly say that one of the important things with this guided inquiry is that we are able to move mathematics beyond just the number symbols that we use in calculations and, kind of the textbook of mathematics, but rather we start to build it so that students are able to learn to apply their knowledge in everyday life, in future math learning, and in other STEM domains. And so that's why today we're going to look at an activity that is what's called learning in this blended space between mathematics and physics. So we're going to look at how we can sort of make connections, make concrete, clear connections between content in the physics classroom and content in the math classroom. Hopefully, this kind of approach it should help them both understand, physical concepts. In this case, we're going to learn about things like velocity, and then also, the mathematics context. Yeah. So that's where we are now. I wonder, Becca, do you have any comments or additions that you would like to make?
I was just wondering if we can add this PowerPoint to the Google Classroom as a material.
Absolutely. This PowerPoint will go into the Google Classroom.
Then people can read it later on, or they can get into the PowerPoint, and if they have any questions later on. But I think the next thing is good to go to the first exercise. So
yeah. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and do that. So let's share the screen again. I love to see that that's one of the nicest things about the Padlet as well, is that it's not something that, you know, sort of happens and then we move on, but actually is something that students can still engage with over different periods of time. And I see now that, you know, people are still adding their comments there. Feel free to comment on other people's comments and use that space to kind of, yeah. And again, I really encourage you to use whatever language you prefer. There at the moment it's all English, but we all have Google Translate on our phones and on our computers, and we're you know, and I guess obviously many of you are, most of you, all of you are, you know, able to speak multiple languages, so it's, you know, really, yeah, something that is fine for us if you want to use whatever you want to use. Yeah, but going back to then the Google Classroom. So at the moment, it looks like we're doing quite good with the numbers there. We have 123 students in the classroom, which is roughly about 100 of you. So that looks quite good. If you're still struggling to get into the Google Classroom, don't hesitate to write a question in the chat or raise your hand. We can try and figure it out. But what we're going to do now is we're going to carry out an activity in the Google Classroom. And again, what we're going to try and do is break you into small groups. Okay, so the idea is that you're working on this together in small groups, and you are trying to solve this task in small groups, which means you're discussing together, you're working on the problem together. So we'll put you in breakout rooms, and this time we'll put you into the breakout rooms, and now it's, you know, kind of you are you know, working together and collaborating together. So hopefully you're able to take the time to unmute and maybe even, well, of course the camera, whatever, but at least unmute and discuss with each other in solving this problem. Maybe someone can share their screen and take the notes. Yeah, but I'm going to publish it now.
Can you share the screen so that everyone sees your Google Classroom, what you're doing there? And then they can find it out.
All right, so I made a draft. So in case you're interested in using the Google Classroom, what I've done is I've made a draft of this problem. And now I'm going to publish it so that it should be in the stream. So I just open it back up to edit it and then assign it. Yeah, so this should be now immediately in your stream in the Google Classroom. Stream. Yeah, here's a new assignment. So if you go to the assignment, it should take a while to load. You can have a sip of coffee. Yeah, there we go. You can see the title, 1D kinetics and linear equations, task 1, right? So here's the task. It's a document, it's a Word document, so you should be able to open that. And you can download it or open it in Google Docs. And there you should be able to solve the problem. So here's the problem.
Now it's important that when you open it, you save it somewhere into your computer. And when you are editing it, then you are doing it in your own computer, and then later on you can return. If you have saved it to your computer, then you can return it. But if you are not saving it, it will be very difficult later on to work with it. So that's important. First, you open it with either with the Google Docs or with the Word, whatever you like, and then immediately first thing is to save it into your computer in the location where you can find it. Yeah. And then you start to work it.
Yeah, so it's a very basic question at this moment, but that's the point. What we're trying to do now is we have 3 tasks that we're going to carry out in this sort of inquiry process. So the first one is this one. You have 2 questions. You have to answer which of these tables represents this graph, and then you have to explain why the table describes the same relationship. I have a rubric designed that you should be able to see as well. The first is, there's 2 parts of it. The first is, did you choose the right table? And then the second is, do you have the correct justification for your reasoning? And you can see the different points that you can get for the different levels of reasoning. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is break you into small groups in the breakout rooms, and there you can work together and solve this. Once you've solved the problem, you save it on your computer, and then you submit it back into the back in Google Classroom, and then we should be able to see that you submitted it. And once you've submitted the first question, and we've had a look at it, then you should be able to move on to the next question. Okay. Do we have can we have that translated actually?
Yes. දැන් මෙතන අපිට පොඩි ඇක්ටිවිටි එකක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ Google Classroom එකේ මේ task 1 docx කියලා පෙන්නන doc එක ඔයගොල්ලන් open කරලා computer එකට download කරගමු. එතකොට ඒකේ දැක්වෙන ප්‍රශ්නයට අපි උත්තර දෙන්න ඕනේ. එතන තියෙනවා ප්‍රශ්න දෙකක්. පළවෙනි එක තමයි ඒ දීලා තියෙන graph එකට අදාළ වෙන තොරතුරු වගුව තෝරන්න ඕනේ අපි. ඊට පස්සේ දෙවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ විදියට ඒකට reason out කරන්න ඕනේ අයි අපි ඒක තෝරගත්ත හේතුව. එතකොට ඒකේ උත්තරය ඔයගොල්ලන් type කරලා chat එකේ දාන්න පුළුවන්. Google Classroom එකේ chat එකේ upload කරන්න. එතකොට හැමෝටම ඒ උත්තර බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ඊට පස්සේ discussion එකට ගන්න පුළුවන්. good ගැටලුවක් තියනවද? Okay, Jake.
Okay, so yeah, did
So
we?
I did the breakout rooms. Is it okay, or would you like to do that?
No, that's fine. Yeah, but I was wondering if we wanted that in Tamil also, or is that clear to the Tamil speakers?
Okay, yes. Yes, please. Tamil translation, please.
Is someone still able and willing?
You mean the answer I have to post?
No, we wanted to have a Tamil translation to the task. That the task is in the Google Classroom now, so everyone can find the task there, and then we will put people in the breakout rooms, and then they should do the task there in the groups. So
then after doing the task, they have to upload their assignment.
Yes.
Post. Upload.
Yes, they have. Yeah, return to the teacher.
Return to the. Okay.
Return to the teacher. And when they have done that, then they come back to the main room.
Yes.
And then we'll give them the next task.
Thank you, Pekka. කවුරු හරි අර ඉස්සෙල්ලා මිස් කෙනෙක් ට්‍රාන්ස්ලේට් කරා නේද ටැමිල් වල? ඒ මිස් ඉන්නවද? එයා ට්‍රාන්ස්ලේට් කරලා මේ කාර්යය කියන්න. මයික් ඔන් කරනවද කවුරු හරි ටැමිල් මිස් කෙනෙක් ඉස්සෙල්ලා ට්‍රාන්ස්ලේට් කරා නේද ටැමිල් වලට? මොකද ටැමිල් ගොඩාක් ටැමිල් පාටිසිපන්ට්ස් ලා ඉන්න ගුරු මහත්මී. Anyone can translate in Tamil?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. What's your name?
Dayanandi.
Dayanandi. ඔයා හැමතිස්සෙම support කරන්න translate කරලා දෙන්න එක. හරිද? මේ ඉවර වුණාම. Right. Thank you. Okay.
இப்போது ஒரு Google Classroomல உங்களுக்கான ஒரு அசைன்மென்ட் அசைன் பண்ணப்பட்டிருக்கு. அந்த டாஸ்கை மற்ற குரூப்புக்கு ஜாயின் பண்ண விடப்படும் போது அதனை செய்துட்டு மீண்டும் குழுவுக்கு இணையுமாறு அதை அசைன் பண்ணதை செய்து டீச்சருக்கு சப்மிட் பண்ணிட்டு மீண்டும் இந்த குழுவில் இணையுமாறு கேட்டுக்கொள்ளப்படுகிறீர்கள். Thank you.
So now when we open all the rooms, when you get into the breakout room open your microphone and start to speak to your group. There should be 4 people in each group, of 3 to 4 people. So just open the microphone and start to talk there to your peers.
Becca, there's a few that still are not assigned that you might want to assign afterwards.
Would you like to put them somewhere?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Did you see my message?
Not yet. Where is it?
The
Oh,
chat.
there. Oh, yes. Yes, you go now and then you come back. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So, but you can get them to the next test also, or
Yes.
yeah, we could look at but it should be hopefully
yes.
10 minutes at the most.
No problem. I can take over. Don't
right.
rush.
All right.
Can take it.
See you
Take
soon.
your time. Yeah, see you soon.
Excuse me, madam. අර මේ දැන් අපේ මේ ආන්සර් එක කොහොමද දෙන්නේ?
ඔව් සර් අපිට පුළුවන් දැන් දීලා තියෙන Word document එක තමන්ගේ කම්පියුටර් එකට save කරගෙන ඒකෙම edit කරලා upload කරන්න පුළුවන් chat එකට. එහෙම නැත්නම් chat එකේ message එකක් විදියට සර්ලට කෙටියෙන් එහෙම උත්තරයක් නම් තියෙන්නේ ඒ විදියට type කරලා දෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. Word doc එකක් වුණත් ආපහු upload කරන්න. දැන් මට පේනවා open කරන Word docs එකක්වත් edit වෙලා නැහැ නිකම්ම ඒකම තමයි upload වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකේ උත්තරේ type කරා නම් හරි සර්.
ඒක type කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද?
පුළුවන්. Word doc එක තමන්ගේ කම්පියුටර් එකට save කරගෙන තමන්ට ඕන විදිහට edit කරලා ආපහු PDF කරලා හරි කමක් නැහැ load කරන්න.
හරි මිස් හරි. Thank you.
Okay.
I think people don't know how to return the assignment.
Yes, Pekka, they are just uploading without the answer, it seems. I just answered one of those questions.
Maybe we should return all them back to the main room, and if you can explain how to return the assignment. So they have to save it, and then after saving they do the changes and then they return it. So I close all the rooms now, and then we will make, and then you explain them, and we give them a new chance to do that. Okay. Okay. Close all rooms now. And takes 50 seconds to close them, and then we'll speak to them. Because otherwise, if they don't know how to return it, then because we have 3 different tasks them to do, and if they don't know how to return it, we can't go forward. And this is important that they learn now how to return it.
So Pekka, it's like we can download the Word doc and enter the answer there, and again upload it in the chat. Is that so?
No. It's I can quickly show it's in the Google Classroom. You open the document, you save it into your computer, then you do the changes there, and then after that you go back to the assignment, and there is they have to upload and to return in the Google Classroom and return to the teacher, and then you have to click the return. I can't just remember submit, but if you remember, because I have a teacher mode now, I can't exactly see that one, but I'm sure that somebody knows how to do that.
What happens if they upload it to the chat, Pekka? Is it possible?
Then we are not learning how to use the Google Classroom. So please don't return it to the chat box in the Zoom. So I quickly show
you in the Google Classroom.
So can you share your screen to everyone and tell them how to download it, and then how to fill it, and then how to return it to the teacher? Is this possible?
I'm not logged into the Google Classroom yet.
So if you can log into the Google Classroom, and then so I returned everyone back to here so that we can now practice how to return the assignment in the Google Classroom, because this is what you should do with your students. Stop sharing now. So I'm just quickly showing that when you are here in the main screen, then you go to the classwork, then you open the task, view assignment, and when you have done this view assignment, you have to open the task document. And when you are in this place, you have to go here and either use another apps like Word document, or you use Google Docs, but you have to open the document, and first thing you have to save it somewhere in your computer, and then you make the changes there. And after that one, you'll come to the back to the assignment, and here in the right upper corner, you will have a place where you can return the document to the teacher. So now I just need someone who has the student view to show others how to do the downloading. Do we have someone here in our participants who know how to do it? That would be an important now, because otherwise you can't return the documents in a proper way.
අපේ සහභාගී වෙන ගුරු මහත් මහත්මියන් අතරින් කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න පුළුවන් කෙනෙක් පුළුවන් මම හිතනවා මේ හැමෝටම පුළුවන් කියලා මොකද පළවෙනි ට්‍රේනින් වර්ක්ෂොප් එකට සහභාගී වෙච්ච අයට මේ ටික පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ කැමැත්තෙන් කවුරු හරි ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න ඉක්මනට මේ ඒක Google Classroom එකේ ඒ කොටස කරන්න ෂෙයා කරලා ස්ක්‍රීන් එකට ඒක ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරන විදිය පෙන්නන්න ડોකියුමන්ට් එක කවුරුත් නැද්ද? කවුරු හරි ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න. හරි කවුද දන්නේ ඉදිරිපත් වෙන මහත්තයා හරි නෝන ෂෙයා කරන්නේ කවුද
No share. You have to change. You need to save the document first to your computer, and when it's saved there,
ෆයිල් ගිහලා බලන්න සේව් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා
in the file, and then save. You have to
දැන් ඩොක් එක Google ඩොක් එකෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒකට යන්නකෝ ඩොක් එකට යන්න ඒක ක්ලික් කරන්න හරි කොමින් ඕන් වෙන එක හරිද ඊට පස්සේ ෆයිල් එකට යන්න මෙහා පැත්තේ වම් පැත්තේ තියෙන ෆයිල් කියන තැනට ගිහිල්ලා සේව් කරන්න ෆයිල් යන්න සේව් තියනවද මේක copy කරමුද මේක copy කරන්න මේක copy හරිද මේක කරන්න කරලා වාට ඒක ඩවුන්ලෝඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන් හරි හරි දැන් ෆයිල් ගන්න දැන් ෆයිල් යන්න දැන් ෆයිල් එක සේව් කරන්න දැන් ගිහිල්ලා සේව් තියනවද දැන් වෙන්නේ නැහනේ ෂෙයා කරන්න එපා තාම මේ ඔයාට ඕක උත්තර ලියලා සේව් කරන්න වෙනවා හරි ඩෙස්ක්ටොප් එකේ සේව් වුණා දැන් උත්තර ලියන්න වෙනවා ඔකට Pekka, he or she demonstrated how to download and
Okay, can now everyone do that with the flow? It's important now that they can return the document in the right way.
share kare sir the miss the how the share karpe ekana apa open karanna oyage Google Classroom එක කවුරු කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ නේ mute වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරපු ડોකියුමන්ට් එක right Google Classroom එක දැන් Google Classroom එකට යන්න ඔය ආපහු. ඔතෙන් දැන් ඔයාගේ සේව් කරලානේ තියෙන්නේ ડોකියුමන්ට් එක. ඩෙස්ක්ටොප් එකේ ඔයා Classroom එකට යන්න ඔයාගේ Google Classroom එකට යන්න දැන්. අනේ Classroom එකට යන්න. Classroom එක බලන්න. මෙතන Classroom for Mathematics. All right. දැන් එතෙට ගිහිල්ලා ඔයා assignment view කරන්න view assignment දාන්න. class work එකට යන්නකෝ. Oh yes class work යන්න. හරිනේ දැන් මෙතන view assignment ගන්න. පල්ලෙහා then view තව පල්ලෙහා view assignment හරි. දැන් add or create නේ තියෙන්නේ. දැන් අපි එතෙට click කරන්න. හරිද? add or create. දැන් ඔයාලට up file නේ තියෙන්නේ file. ඔයාගේ file එකක් නේ උඩ file. හරි. upload කරන්න ඕන. හරිද? දැන් browser එකකින් බලන්න. browser එකෙන් ඔයා desktop එකේ දැන් මේ browser එකේ ගිහලා desktop එකේ file එක හොයාගන්න. මොකක්ද දැම්මේ නම? හරි. open කරන්න. හරි. හරිද? දැන් ෆයිල් එක අතෙට ආවා. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ turn in.
It's good to delete first the one which you don't want to send.
Okay. Let us turn in about turn in. Right. Okay. Now you posted the assignment. You can see. Pekka, he done well.
Yes, that's the way to do. So
yeah. Others can learn, and I think others.
Yes. Now every group should do the same thing. So maybe we put you back to the breakout rooms for another 10 minutes and then try to do the same thing. If you don't know, please come back to the main room and we will explain you to how to do that one. So is that okay? So we'll still continue with the same. Yes, please.
Yeah, just to remember that there's the two questions. So don't only just choose which one describes the relationship, but also you need to describe why that choice is the right choice. So make your justification for that choice. Okay. So and you can see in the task the rubric for how we assess that. So you can get some hints as to what you should include in your explanation.
Okay, so if there's any question now, please come back to the room. Now you go back to the breakout rooms and try to do this task again. The most important thing is that you try to return something to us, because then we know if you have understood the task or not.
ප්‍රොෆෙසර් පැහැදිලි කරන්නේ ආපහු ඔයගොල්ලෝ දානවා breakout room එකට. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් activity එක අර වගේ download කරලා උත්තර ලියලා upload කරන්න ඕන. දැන් කරපු විදියට 10 minutes දෙනවා. 10 minutes වලින් කරන්න.
So please now join to the breakout rooms and in the group explain others how to fill in the document and how to return assignment. So you don't need to actually have the right answer today. It's more important that you know how to return the assignment first, because then we can go next step, and then we are looking for more the mathematical answers. But now first make sure in your group that all of you know how to return the assignment.
If we want to also then kind of focus on the math at some point, they can also sort of answer the questions in the comments. Some of them have already done that. So they can comment on the task, and there they can put their answer. If they don't, then they don't have to upload. But I think that it's good for them to you know, practice that still as well, but then maybe for the later tasks, because then they can focus on, we can focus on that. So just a thought.
මේන් රූම් එකේ මේ තාම 37 දෙනෙක් ඉන්නේ. අය ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ group වලට join වුනේ නැද්ද? group එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පෙන්නනවනේ join වෙන්න කියලා. ශමිලා on කරන්නකෝ ඔයාගේ mic එක ශමිලා. ඇයි ඔයා class room එකට join වෙන්නේ නැත්තේ? මට join වෙන්න ඔයගොල්ලන් class ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පෙන්නනවනේ ටක් ගාලා එතන join කියලා join වෙන්න. අපේ අර ටැමිල් මිස් ඉන්නව නම් ඒක ටැමිල් වලින් කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට ක්ලාස් එකට ආපහු ජොයින් වෙලා ඒ ඇක්ටිවිටි ආපහු කරන්න කියලා. වෙලගෙදර තම මේ රූම් එකේ ඉන්නේ. ඇයි ඔයා බ්‍රේක්අප් රූම් එකට යන්නේ නැත්තේ? වෙලගෙදර මයික් ඔන් කරන්න ඔයාගේ. තම 25ක් ඉන්නවා. වෙලගෙදර මිස්ටර් මිසිස් ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ සෙෂන් එකේ නැද්ද මන්ද? මිස්ටර් දයාරත්න දයාරත්න වගේ මයික් එක ඔන් කරනවද? अशोका पुष्प कुमारी अशोका माइक ऑन करना व्हाट्स द प्रॉब्लम?
Jake, what do you think? Should we call everyone back and show them some examples what some groups have returned and explain others how to continue? Because I think now there are some good answers and some people are still struggling with the returning of the documents. So I close all the rooms now. So it takes 1 minute. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Didn't need to unmute, huh? I'm providing feedback to some in there. So
I was returning some of the documents. I saw that there some of them are fine, well done, but then if we just show them what's the problem here in the returning of the documents, and and then just I think then they get the idea what do we mean by the Google Classroom, and then the feedback for the students. So if they're not doing the returning right, then it's very difficult to know the thinking and they work.
Yeah. And and some of them are returning them empty because they haven't, then they
don't know how to do,
or they practiced returning them, but then
maybe. Okay, I think everyone is back here in the main room. So we're going to go show you how to work as a teacher in the Google Classroom. So just quickly see your papers. Would you like to do that, Jake, or shall I do it?
I can do that.
Okay.
So go ahead and share my screen. So let's take an example. So what I can do is I can see here the student work, right? So these are the students in the classroom and their responses to the assignment. And what I can see over here is who has turned in the work. I think I need to refresh. Let's see. Who has turned in the work? No, because okay. And then who hasn't? Of course, I've returned now some of them to you, but that's fine. So this isn't everyone who's returned it, but rather those who've returned to me or Pekka haven't checked the work. And then what I can do is I can open up the student's work. If I want to see what they've done, it opens it up in a new tab. And there's a couple things here. So here I see that this student has turned it in. And here I see what the student has turned in. And I can see that here there isn't any information. And I can check that there's no comments. So then now this was a practice turning in the assignment. So that's great. We were able to turn it in and I was able to see it. What I can do then as a teacher is I can return it to the student so that they can redo it. I could put in grades here. So for instance, I could say, well, 0 points for the choice and 0 points for the reasoning, as they are sort of not completed yet, but we don't need to do that now. We can just show the return and so send this back to the student with no grade at the moment. I can also then look through all of my students and find who has turned them in from this drop-down menu. So I can check another student's work here without having to go back. And I can go through and let's see if okay, this is another that was just practicing returning. So we'll just return it back to the student. Let's see if we can see instance here. Good. So here, the students have responded with A as their answer. So they've made the choice, and the choice was correct. So we can give 1 point for the choice, but we don't see any reasoning as to why A is the correct answer. So we give it 0 points for the reasoning, and then we can make a note that please explain choice, and then return it to the students. And then they can do it. We can see here, I forgot to post that comment. To post the comment. Here's an assignment, for instance, where we did see a complete response. So the choice was A, and then they mentioned the standard formula for a linear equation. And importantly, they mentioned that the intercept should be positive because this is a positive intercept, it's above 0. So we know that our values, at least our initial values, should be positive. So that rules out B, C, D, and F. And we know the gradient or the slope should be negative because the slope is decreasing as time increases. So we know that then it can't be E where the slope is, where the values are increasing over time. So the answer is A. So while they gave the correct answer of A, so the choice was, they got 1 point for the choice, but they included both reasoning of the intercept and of the slope. So they got 2 points for reasoning. So I gave it very nice, and she responded with thank you. And then I returned it to the student as well. So now this student would be able to go on to the next task. Can someone post the link to the Google Classroom in the chat? Someone needs that. Yeah, so that's the basic idea here. So yeah, Pekka, do you have any comments?
You know, I think that's a basic thing what we needed to do now. It seems to me that many people have problems to using Google Classroom, but now we continue now with practicing. So we have 2 other assignments, so we can go to the next assignment. And at least those who have managed, they can continue, but everyone can take those 2 assignments and they can try to return them. And if you still have problems with the returning the document, then we need to go that through again. But I think that to get the idea about the pedagogy, we need to go to the next step to explain what we are doing. So that was the first step within the classroom. So that first you give the first task, and when the students are returning the task, then we can give them a next task so that we are also following which groups are in time and which groups will need help. So as you see that we are now too many in this classroom, we are 87, it's too many. But if you have 20 or 30 students in your classroom, then you can easily follow up the work of the different group pairs or groups who are working there. And now that's important. And then the students are getting feedback of their work and they can get also help. But now, as you see, it's very difficult for us to help all of you because you are so many in this workshop now. But now maybe we can go forward and take the next task.
Okay, so I will open up then the next tasks for those of you who are ready to move on. Ideally, you would have 3 points out of 3 on task 1 before you move on to task 2. But for the sake of just moving things along, it's okay if you want to go ahead and go on to task 2 before going on to task 3, or after now, I mean to say. So tasks 2 and 3 should now be in your feed in reverse order. So you should pay attention to that make sure you do task 2 first and then do task 3. And it's hard to see, but in fact,
in the classwork, everyone can see them in right order. So go to the classwork and choose the task from there.
Yeah. So classwork, I think they're still in the other order, but so just, yeah, be clear, or try and remember to get the right one. I noticed that some of you are posting your answers in the as a comment, which you can post class comments here, but then you can also post in your own work a comment where you can sort of then it's possible for me and Pekka to, for instance, see who has responded. So try and make the comments in your own classwork rather than on the stream on the front page. That allows us to keep track of who's responded and give kind of specific feedback there. So even if you've posted in the main, stream on the front page a comment, try and go to your own personal page for that task, for that assignment, and post that comment. And please remember to not just put the answer, but also the explanation. The answer is not enough. We need an explanation. That's important part of this process. Once you've done that, you can go on to the next tasks, task 2 and task 3, which we should then also again do in breakout rooms. So should we open up the breakout rooms again?
I was wondering if we just give them open breakout rooms, so those who want to go to the breakout rooms, they can just join there, and those who don't, they can just stay idle and they can do the tasks by themselves. If we just make the new breakout rooms which are open, and then they can choose a group, and if they know someone, they can go to the same room and work together.
Okay.
Shall I do it, or would you like?
Yeah, you can do that if you haven't.
But the main idea is that everyone now does these assignments. So there are 3 assignments, and all of you should make a document. So all of you, even though you are working in a group, please make an own document. So everyone who is now participating in this workshop, you should go to the assignment, open the document, save it to your computer, make the changes there, and then return it to the teacher. So this is what we are expecting you to do, so that you are learning it by yourself. And this is what I'm expecting in my classroom when I'm teaching my students. I ask them to do the assignments, and then they have to return them. Then I know which one of the students really understands and who needs help. So if you are not returning anything, I really don't know if you have understood anything about this workshop. So only thing we can get the idea how much you have learned is that you open the document yourself, and then you fill in the answers, and then you return it. So we are learning here how to use Google Classroom as a student and as a teacher. And then we are learning the mathematics here, how to teach the mathematics and how to activate students as a learner in a classroom. So please, either you go to the breakout rooms or you can do it by yourself. It's not necessary to go to the breakout room. You can do it by yourself now. But now the breakout rooms are open, and then you can just go whichever you like. Did you?
I'll translate it. Jay.
Yes, please.
Yes. දැන් ඊළඟ ගැටලුවට උත්තර සපයන්න අපිට අවශ්‍ය කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් breakout room එකට join වෙලා discuss කරලා ඒ activity කරන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් Taman දැනට ඉන්න breakout room එකට යන්නේ නැතුව Tamanගේ Google Classroom එකේ ඒ තියෙන activity doc එක download කරලා ඒකේ answer එක type කරගෙන ඒක ආපහු upload කරන්න teacher-ටයි upload කරන්න. ඉස්සෙල්ලා මම කිව්වා chat එකේ දාන්න කියලා. අපි එහෙම නොකර දැන් කියන්නේ අපි ඒක practice වෙන්නත් එක්ක teacher-ට upload කරන්න. ඊළඟට අර comments එහෙම දානකොට streamline එකේ දාන්නේ නැතුව තමන්ගේ Google Classroom එකට ගිහිල්ලා comments කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි assignment එක teacher-ට upload කරන්න. Thank you.
So would it be about 15 minutes time for everyone to do that? And then after 15 minutes, we come back to the main room and then we look together what we have gained here. So if you have any questions, please open your microphone and talk to us. Or type to the chat box. You can even type to the chat box if you have any questions. If you really still don't know what to do, make sure that you type that to the chat box or you open the microphone and talk to us, then we are ready to help you.
අනුක්‍රමණය සමානයි. අනුක්‍රමණය වෙනස් වෙන එකක් ගන්න බෑ.
Of course, sir. I find the task and I couldn't upload that.
Did you manage to save it into your computer?
Yeah.
Then you go back to the Google Classroom, and then there is the view assignment in the task. Click the view assignment.
View assignment.
Can you share your screen? Then I can see what you share your screen, then I can help you step by step.
Yeah.
Okay, now have you saved this somewhere in your computer?
Yeah.
Okay, then go back to the Google Classroom up there.
Google Classroom.
It's there in the, yes, that one. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Where? This is not Google Classroom now. Can you go to the classroom where we were, the mathematics training? It's somewhere. Just type to the browser Google Classroom and then you can get it out. But I don't know where did you came here? You have to go back to the classroom.
I think I closed that classroom, isn't it?
Yes, just open it again. Click the plus sign up there and click. You have there in the top row. Make a new tab. Up there, yes, just that one. Click that one and Google Classroom. Type there, or you can open it down from the list. Google Classroom. It's already there. Yes, log in. Sign in.
Shall I go to sign in Google Classroom?
Yes, sign in. Yes, sign in. And then this, click the mathematics TOT, the red one. Just click somewhere there. Maybe the red area. If you move your cursor up to the where it says mathematics, click that word. Yes, click that one. Now go to the classwork. Up there, there's a stream and the next classwork. Click the classwork word. Up there, there are 3 words: stream, classwork. Okay, you can do that also, no problem.
Classwork, yeah.
Classwork, yes, it's easy to find from there. And then you take, which one you took, the first one?
I have done the second activity I have done.
Okay, click the second one then. That one, click, open it. Okay, then click down there, view assignment. Down, go down to this box. In this box, yes, view assignment. Click that one. And then you go to the your work. And then add or create. And then go to file. And then try to find your document. Where did you save it? Easiest is to take this recent It's one of the recent ones. If you just click recent, or you can browse. Okay, the task 2, click that one, yes. I think this is a good example for everyone how to do it. Just follow these steps. And now you can click the turn in button. Turn in, and then you got it.
Shall I click got it?
Yes, click got it. And then did you click the turn in again? It should give a second time there. Click that one. And now turn in again. Here is the red button in the right. Yes, that one. And now it's done. So no problem. Well done. If you don't want to return it, then you have to do this unsubmit, but that's not the case now. So now you have done it. So if you filter the document right, then we can see it from there. Okay, now you can go for the next task, to the task 3 if you want. And you can stop sharing this screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jake, I think we now will have to stop the breakout rooms, and we'll have to go through what we have. We have only 25 minutes left, so I'll close all the rooms now.
Yeah. Time flew.
I think it's good to go through just quickly the answers and the pedagogy idea that we have these 3 steps, and then if we have time, we can try to show them how to download the materials and maybe quiz if we have time. But we now have only this 25 minutes left.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
everyone
welcome.
has now. It's your talk. Sorry.
No, yeah, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying that everyone is now back, so we need to go this through together. So, but you still can work with these documents after this workshop. We have only a little bit more than 20 minutes time. So Jake will tell you about the rest of the things now. But I will be listening here. Okay, Jake, you can continue.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I see that there's many of you who've managed to move on to task 2, and some who've even gotten through to task 3, which is great. So what I wanted to do now is talk a little bit about kind of what is the idea behind these tasks, and what is kind of the goal in the assessment. So as many of you should have known, those of you who were managed to at least submit something, I think I responded to most of you in Google Classroom in terms of returning the assignment with evaluations of some sort. Many of you, for instance, provided some, or forgot to provide some explanation for your answers. So then I asked you to provide the explanation. Some of you provided partial explanations, but not full explanations. And so the main idea is that, or then was to kind of be able to give you the feedback. And this can happen in Google Classroom, but ideally also, or not ideally, but also this kind of process would happen in the, classroom in a physical common space as well. So so let's talk first about this task and talk a little bit about the rubric. So this was the first task, task 1. There were 2 parts of the assignment. The first one was to choose which of these tables represented the relationship. Most of you recognize that table A was the correct answer. And there is, then many of you were able to provide the explanation that involved both the intercept and the slope, or the initial position and the change in position, right? And so we saw that the initial position was positive. When the time was 0, the value of the position was positive. It was above the x-axis. So again, we know that we can cancel out B, C, D, and F as potential correct answers, and that's either A or E, which had initial values that were positive. And then we saw that the position of the cyclist was decreasing in comparison to the origin. So it was so that meant that the velocity was negative, that as the time went by, the distance decreased. And so then that meant that it had to be A as the correct answer. And so while you get 1 point, as we see, for the correct choice of A, we gave either 1 point for an incorrect answer or 0 points for an incorrect answer. The more important thing, again, was the reasoning. And so that's why this reasoning involved 2 points, right? So 2/3 of the score on this assignment was reasoning. And in some ways, you sort of don't get a passing grade on this assignment. But of course, we're not really sort of grading it, but rather we wouldn't allow the students to move on to the next part of the task until we were sure that they understood the relationships here between this graph, the values, and the tables, both from the perspective of understanding the intercept or the initial position and the change in position or the slope, right? So we're not going to let them go on to the next part of the task until they can provide a mathematically or scientifically correct, sound reasoning for their choice that involved both the aspect of intercept or initial position and slope or velocity, right? So they needed to be able to explain that at 0, there was maybe, let's say, a positive distance. I would give feedback here that they would need to describe the positive distance. I'm assuming that's what they meant. And that then as time increased, distance decreased, indicating a negative relationship, right? So the important thing here is that when we have this rubric, we're appropriately weighting what we give points for. And this signals to the students that just having the correct answer isn't sufficient, that that's only 1/3 of the process here. What we want them to be able to do is understand that they have to be able to provide mathematically correct reasoning. And this isn't just to provide the reasoning. This is for us to understand that, and for them to understand that they know what's going on here so that they can move on to the next thing. If we think back to what we were describing in the initial PowerPoint, the point of the feedback when we're thinking about this inquiry process and when we're thinking about a student-centered approach, feedback and assessment shouldn't be about us assessing their knowledge in the sense that we're showing them that they're right or that they're wrong. What we want to concentrate them on is, do they understand enough to be able to move on? Do they understand what they need to understand in order to go on to the next step? And in this, we need them to be able to think about, do they understand the relationship between the initial value and the position on the graph? That when it's above 0, when it's above this line, that means that it's a positive value. That means that when time is 0, this value should be positive. Do they understand that? And do they understand the relationship between change in position and time in order to be able to describe this as a negative relationship, that the values are decreasing over time, right? So this is not about us telling them they're right or they're wrong in their reasoning, but rather them being able to assess their own reasoning in the sense. And that's why this is important as well. They can see this rubric, right? In the Google Classroom, we make our intermediate formative assessment visible to them, that they're able to also self-assess and say, I don't understand why the intercept or initial position is like this, so I can't provide a justification. I need to figure that out. So we're providing them clarity on what we are trying to get them to understand here. And we do that by making transparent our reasoning for our evaluation process for the reasoning. So we're not hiding that away and seeing if they can figure that out on their own. We're not telling them the answer here. We're not saying that they need to be able to describe the initial position as positive and the slope as negative. We're not telling them the answer, but we're telling them what they need to pay attention to, what they need to focus on, and what they need to be able to understand themselves. This is really crucial. We're turning it around a little bit. You know, the idea of what assessment is, what a rubric is, and we're making these things transparent so that they can, you know, learn through this process. If we talk a little bit about task design, one of the ideas here is that we're moving from something that's a little bit more closed, a little bit more focused, right? A little bit more straightforward of a question. This probably shouldn't be the first time they see slope, and especially because we're applying this in a physics context. We're not necessarily trying to teach them about slope and intercept here. What we're trying to do is get them to make connections between the mathematics and the physics. And so this problem becomes something that's in this blended space, right? And so, but nonetheless, we still want to focus them on the things that matter the most in this task, right? And so this first task is fairly straightforward, right? You have a very closed question. Which of these boxes, which of these tables represents this figure? But then we see as we move to the next task, this complexity increases, right? And so now they're the ones who have to come up with sort of a plausible set of values to make a table themselves. So we can think that this is sort of a productive task for them. They're having to produce sort of a plausible answer. And there's a couple of things here that I think are important for us to think about. First, we're clarifying to them that this relationship doesn't depend on the numbers, right? There are many different ways to fill in this. There's lots of different answers to this question because there's not a sort of specific values that are set here, but rather we're focusing them on the relationships that are in between the graph and the values in the table, right? So again, and this is again sort of turning them away from a traditional mathematics task where you have sort of one correct answer that you're trying to get to, and the whole point is to get to that correct answer. But again, the point of this task is to get them to focus on the mathematics and reason about the mathematics, not just get the correct answer, because there is no the correct answer. There are an infinite number of plausible answers. Of course, these could be, 4 million, 3,500,000, and this is still correct, or 4 million, maybe not 4,399 or 3,999,000. Maybe we can see that this should approach zero. But then again, I mean, this t could be extremely large. No, all right, never mind. Not important. But the main point is that these are plausible, possible values, right? There are many possible solutions. We don't, but the point is for them to think about the relationships here. And so again, when we look at the rubric, when we look at the value, the points that they're getting for this task, they only get 1 point for coming up with these possible values. Instead, they're getting twice as many points for providing the mathematically correct reasoning here, right? I thought this was a really nice answer because they pointed out that the gradient is equal, right? We have a constant slope, we have a constant velocity, but there is also still missing the idea that there's a positive value here. So again, this is still But yeah, still, this is a good example of a well thought through, partially correct answer. And I don't doubt that, they would be able to describe it, but we want to make sure that the students understand that. So we ask them still to make sure that they can explain why these values are possible. Again, one of the things that often happens in, typical mathematics instruction is that we sort of focus them on getting the correct answer. Right? We're focusing them towards the correct answer, and we're not. And one thing that does is we avoid them often recognizing and having students grapple and reason about their own misconceptions. Okay, and so one of the things that's valuable is to provide them with sort of these, kind of incorrect answers that they have to then reason about why they're incorrect. So, and so that in this case, then they're having to produce sort of impossible answers, which gets them to think about sort of the limits of what they understand this task to mean. So, there's many different reasons why this answer can't be correct, and they have to think them through. One of them is that the slope is positive. So this is a good example. Again, we're still missing a little bit about the intercept, but actually, if we think about it, it only needs one reason why it's not plausible, and that the gradient is positive. So we could start at a positive value as well and go positive, and that still would be incorrect. Yeah, but again, we're focusing them on their reasoning. Again, we're focusing them on thinking through. We're showing them the type of reasoning we expect from them, without still giving away the answer. But we want to make it transparent to them what we expect from them. Yeah. So then, as you can see, we move a bit away from what we want to do is actually then start to turn them further. So the second task kind of introduced more a more complex version of still that first task, where we're trying to make a connection between the graph and the table, and we're kind of providing these multiple representations for them and understanding the relationship between time and position as velocity, and the relationship between these things and linear equations. And what we want to do is then start to make that a bit more formal as well. So we turn them to this sort of formal equation that then, potentially represents the situation. And we try and then make a bit more of a abstract connection between sort of these physics, or these representations of the relation between time and distance, and then a formal physics equation or mathematics equation that has then, the variables attached to it. And so what we want to do is move them towards then interpreting how we can represent these relationships then in the formal symbolic notation. And so we're kind of, the idea is that most likely when you would use an activity like this, you'd have discussion, you'd have stopping points. This is something actually I should have clarified, that what ideally we would do is once all students had finished task one, some students could have moved on to task two, but once everyone has a decent foundation in task one, you stop the classroom, bring them together, and sort of debrief. Okay, why did we see this answer is correct? Do we see, why do we justify, what are our different justifications? And make sure that every student is sort of on the same page, and then, kind of have them go on to the second task. And what you're doing is you're formalizing then their reasoning. So it's not the case that, everyone's going to have perfect reasoning here, and that they meet all of the nuances and understanding. What you want to do as a teacher still is draw them back together and make sure you can kind of give them a solid point to take away, right? That everyone understands for sure where they are, and that allows them to move forward. And so that by the time you get to this last point, again, we're talking about guided inquiry. We're not talking about sort of complete explorative processes, but guided inquiry, that they're able to kind of start to deal with this. We know that as teachers, we know that they have enough they've kind of clarified their knowledge to the point that on tasks 1 and task 2, that they can sort of address these questions then in task 3. So that's the basic idea here. What I'll do is I'm going to post here a couple things that I'll post as material. Here it is. So here's the kinematic and linear equations teacher guide, which has all of this kind of embedded in there that you should be able to access and use in your teaching and training later on. I can show you, or I'll post also, this is material, so it's not an assignment, but rather material that's sort of, teaching material, where you can, all students can have access to it, but there's not sort of a place where you can, the students can't respond in any way except to make comments because it's not an assignment. So I'll post the slides as well when I get a chance to do that. Yeah. Becca, is there something that I missed or should have?
I think this is pretty much everything we wanted to say today. The main idea is how to use the Google Classroom and how to give assignments to the students and how to create a classroom where we activate students and when we get feedback, when the teacher can give feedback to the students. And I think this is more than enough for today. I think so. So I think we can just wrap up this and close the workshop. If there's any questions now, I think that we still have a few minutes time to answer if there's something very important. At least there's something Nanda would like to share with others before we leave. Would you, Nanda, say something about this?
Participant, I put the feedback from chat box. Please complete that and submit. මම සහභාගී අයගේ ප්‍රතිචාර සම්බන්ධ ලින්ක් එක දාලා තියෙනවා chat box එකට. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඒක සබ්මිට් කරන්න. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Jake and Pekka. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and skills regarding the learner-centered learning. And you explain how to create, how to engage and active learning for in the mathematics teaching, mathematics learning, and as well as practice the Google Classroom. That's for very useful for our teachers. I believe our teachers will practice and learn more what you have explained so far. Thank you very much. I would like to thank both of you on behalf of participants and as well as the NIE. Thank you very much, all participants. Thank you very much for your participation for this workshop. So if you have any problem, you can get 1 to 5 minutes or like that, and you can ask the question. Otherwise, we will close the workshop. Thank you so much. ඔයගලන් ප්‍රශ්න මොන හරි තියෙනවා නම් විනාඩියක් කීපයක්කින් ඔයගලගේ raise hand කරලා අහන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් mic එක on කරලා අහන්න. Professors ලගෙන් දැනගන්න.
So there's a question in the chat. Is there another meeting on Thursday morning?
Yes.
Okay. I think we should repeating this one. It was planned that we have the same session on Thursday morning. So
I think another group. We will.
It's for another group. Yes, not for.
Yes, another group. Right? Not this group. I think this
Okay.
group will have to, they have to practice what
Yes.
we did in the session, because I know you couldn't learn everything at once. You have to leisurely, you have to practice everything. Please, Jake, can you share your presentation with our participants?
Yeah,
Is
I've
it-
posted that. That's now
Is it in
the,
Google Classroom?
Yeah, it's there now.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Just
Thank you
posted
so
that.
much.
And I'll say also that there's some material from a workshop me and Pekka gave in March. There's older material there, which you feel
Yes,
free to
yes.
explore. That's got more details on some different approaches for sort of student-centered learning that maybe are helpful. So yeah, that's all
And
there for you.
also, sorry, and also try to do the assignments.
Yeah,
Even
please.
even
Yeah,
our workshop is finished, you can do the assignment and submit. They will give their comments. Please do that. Otherwise, we cannot learn. We have to learn it by doing. Okay.
Okay.
Another meeting. We have another training Thursday. You can join if you like. You can join, but not. I don't know whether these repeat one not. We have another workshop. Those who wish to, you can join.
Yeah, the plan is to do this again. So, but if you want to get, there's plenty to get from it, I think. So yeah. It's
Okay, Pekka, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We will see in
Thank you.
27 next workshop.
Yeah.
Yes.
See you on
Thank you.
Thursday. Yes,
Okay.
bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye bye. Google form එක පුරවලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ close වෙන්න. Submit කරන්න Google මේ response එකට submit කරලා close වෙන්න. ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට විනාඩි දෙකක් යන්නේ පුරවන්න. Submit කරපු අය done කියලා දාන්නකො බලන්න. කී දෙනෙක් submit කරාද කියලා බලන්න. Yes, good. Then I put the submit කරලා.